The girl in the shadows, the rain fell again. It always did in this city. The drops slid down tall steel walls, carrying dirt into the gutters. Street lights flickered like they were tired of working. The air smelled of rust and smoke. She sat in. The shadows, knees pulled close, hiding under a broken roof that did not keep her dry. Her clothes were thin, full of holes. Her hands were cold. Her stomach had stopped growling hours ago. People passed by, tall creatures with long arms and glowing eyes. None of them looked at her. None of them ever did. She was just another shadow in a city full of them, but she watched them. Always watched. She listened to whispers in the market. Strange stories about the human. The human was not from this world. He had come from the sky in a broken ship months ago. The city guards wanted him gone. The merchants said he was dangerous. The children whispered that he was crazy. Some said he could lift heavy things no one else could. Some said he built strange machines. And some said he helped people who had nothing. She did not know what to believe. She had never seen him until tonight. She first heard the sound-heavy boots splashing in the rain. Slow steps, like the person did not care if the water soaked them. She lifted her head. There he was. He was taller than she expected. His clothes were patched and wet. His hair was messy and dark. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp, like he was always thinking. He was carrying something big and heavy wrapped in cloth. The bundle was almost the size of her body. He walked past the other creatures without a word. They stared at him, some in fear, some in anger, but no one stopped him. Then he stopped in front of her. She froze. No one ever stopped in front of her. Her first thought was to run, but her legs didn't move. He looked at her, really looked, like he could see all the days she had been hungry, all the nights she had been cold. "I think," he said, his voice low and rough, "you need this more than I do." He set the bundle on the ground in front of her and stepped back. She hesitated and reached for it. Her fingers shook. The cloth was warm in a way she didn't understand. She pulled it back. It was a stone. A smooth, round stone, the size of her head, and it was glowing faintly. The warmth spread into her hands, up her arms, into her chest. It felt like sunlight, even though she had not seen the sun in weeks. She stared at him. "What is it?" "A start," he said simply. Then he turned and began to walk away. Her mind raced. A start? A start to what? Why give this to her? Why even talk to her? Before she could stop herself, she stood up and followed him. The streets twisted like a maze. He moved through them as if he knew every turn. She kept her distance, stepping quietly, but he must have known she was there, because once, without turning around, he said, "Since you're following me, you might as well see where this leads." Her heart pounded. She almost ran the other way, but something about his voice kept her moving forward. They left the crowded market behind. The lights grew dimmer. The streets narrower. The smell of damp stone filled the air. Finally, he stopped at a metal door, hidden between two massive buildings. He pushed it open and stepped inside. She hesitated. If she went inside, she might never come back out. But the glowing stone in her hands was still warm, and she didn't want to lose it. She stepped in. The space inside was strange. Piles of stone lay everywhere, some carved into shapes, some raw and rough. Tools she had never seen before rested on benches. A half-built wall stood in the middle of the room, its surface made of the same glowing stone she carried. "This," the human said, turning to face her, "is going to be your home." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "I can't finish it alone," he continued. "If you help me, it will be done faster, but we have to work quickly." She frowned. Why? He glanced toward the door. Because they're looking for me. And when they find me, they won't like what I'm building. The rain outside grew louder, like the city was listening. She stared at the glowing walls, the tools, the stone in her hands. For the first time in years, she felt something that wasn't fear or hunger.hope. But it was mixed with something else, danger. She looked at the human again. His eyes were steady. His hands were already moving, fitting another stone into place. And she knew, whatever this was, it was only the beginning. Asterisk as the warm stone pulsed in her hands, a shadow passed over the doorway. Someone or something was watching them. Asterisk the gift of stone. The rain had slowed outside, but inside the workshop, the air was still thick with damp and dust. The glowing stone in her hands was warm, almost alive. The human noticed her staring. At it. Feels good, doesn't it? He asked, without looking up from his work. She nodded slowly. It's warm, but why? He gave a small smile, the kind that held secrets. It's not just warm, it's alive in its own way. That's why it's rare. She looked around at the piles of rock, the strange tools, and the half-built wall. In the center of the room, you're building what? A house? Asterisk, a fortress, he corrected. Something that can keep you alive when the city can't. She frowned. Why me? You don't even know me. I don't have to know you, he said, still working, fitting a stone into place with careful hands. I just know you don't. Deserve to die in the streets. Her fingers tightened around the glowing stone. Is it mine? He stopped, looked her in the eye. If you help me finish this, yes. But once it's yours, you have to promise me something. What? Asterisk, that you'll protect it. Because if the wrong people get it, they'll take more than just a house. Before she could ask what he meant, a sharp sound broke the silence. Metal. Clicking against metal, far away, the human froze. His eyes narrowed. They're close, he whispered. Who? She asked. The ones who keep the city poor, the ones who hate me. Asterisk, a faint buzzing sound started growing louder. She looked toward the door, her heart racing. The human grabbed something from a table, a long metal rod with a handle and strange coils wrapped around it. He slid it into a strap across his back. Come on, he said. If you want to keep that stone, you need to see where it came from. She hesitated. Outside? Now? Yes, move. They slipped into the streets again, this time heading deeper into the city's lower levels. The light grew dimmer. The walls changed from steel to rough, old stone. Why are we going down? She asked. Because the past is buried, he said. And I like digging it up. They reached a dead-end wall that looked older than the city itself. The human knelt and pressed his hand against a certain block. The stone shifted. A crack appeared. Slowly, the wall opened, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. What is this? She whispered. This, he said, stepping inside, is where your home begins. The tunnel was narrow, lit only by the glow of her stone. The air was warmer here. She felt it in her chest, the same way she felt the stone's pulse in her palms. Finally, they reached a chamber. The walls glowed faintly. Dozens of stones, just like hers, were built into the structure. She stared in awe. There are so many. Not for long, he said. Once they find this place, they'll take them, strip the walls, burn the tunnels. She turned to him. Then why bring me here? Asterisk, because you can't protect something if you don't. Understand it. He walked to the center of the chamber and knelt beside a half-buried stone. With his hands, he brushed away dust, revealing strange carvings. These aren't just rocks. They're heartstones. They hold heat, light, power. Enough to keep someone alive for years without fuel. She tilted her head. Why not give them to everyone? He looked at her, his voice low. Because power makes enemies, and I already have too many. Before she could reply, the buzzing sound from earlier returned louder now. The human's face hardened. They found us. She clutched her stone. What do we do? Asterisk, we leave, he said, moving quickly toward another tunnel. And we make sure they never get what's left. Behind them, the chamber filled with red light as a drone floated in. Its lens locked onto the human. Human detected. The machine's voice echoed. Surrender immediately. A human didn't even look back. If I stop, they take everything. Keep moving. The tunnel shook with the drone's weapon fire, bits of stone raining down. She stumbled, but the human caught her arm and pulled her forward. Her chest burned from running. Her heart pounded. Finally, they burst into the workshop again. The human slammed the hidden door shut and locked it with a heavy bar. He turned to her, breathing hard. Now you understand why we have to work fast. She looked down at the glowing stone in her hands. It felt heavier now because of its weight, but because of what it meant. You're really building this for me? She asked. He nodded. I'm building it for you. But once it's yours, it has to stand for something. Because stone is strong, but people can be stronger. Before she could answer, a loud metallic knock echoed from the door. The human's eyes narrowed. They're here. Asterisk, the knock came again, harder this time. Then a voice cold and inhuman spoke through the metal. Step away from the girl, human. She belongs to us. Asterisk, the enemies in the dark. The pounding on the workshop door stopped. Silence. The girl held her breath. The human didn't move, his eyes locked on the door like he could see straight through it. Then dash his SSS. A thin stream of smoke slipped through the cracks. She coughed. What is that? Scanner gas, he said, his voice sharp. If it touches you, it reads your DNA. They'll know exactly who you are and where to find you. The girl stepped back, clutching the heartstone tighter. The warm glow in her hands suddenly felt like a beacon that might betray them. The human didn't waste time. He crossed the workshop in 3 long strides, kicked open a trapdoor in the floor, and motioned her down. Move, he ordered. She climbed into the darkness below, her bare feet landing on cold stone steps. The human followed, pulling the trapdoor shut behind him. The faint hiss of the scanner gas vanished above. Stairway spiraled down into pitch black. Only her heartstone lit the path. Who are they? She asked, her voice trembling. City enforcers, he said. Hired hands for the council. They keep the peace by breaking anyone who doesn't obey. Why do they want me? They don't, he said. They want me. But if they take you, they'll use you to make me stop building. They reached the bottom of the stairs. A narrow passage stretched ahead. The air was damp and smelled of earth, but something else was here too. A sound, click, click. The girl stopped. What is that? The human's voice dropped to us. Whisper. Drones. 3 of them. Hunting mode. Down here? They're not supposed to be, he said, which means they're desperate. He crouched low, pulling a small device from his belt, 2 metal rods joined by a coil of glowing wire. He twisted it. A faint hum filled the tunnel. What's that? She asked. A signal scrambler. It won't stop them, but it'll make their aim worse. The clicking grew louder. The first drone appeared from the shadows, its red lens glowing. Like an eye, without warning, it fired. A searing bolt of light struck the wall near her head, spraying hot dust into her hair. The human shoved her forward. Run! They sprinted through the tunnel, the sound of drones chasing close behind. The human scrambler sparked, throwing their aim off just enough to keep them alive. The girl's chest burned, her legs aching. She glanced back. One drone was gaining, weaving through the air like a predator. The human stopped suddenly, slammed. His hand against the tunnel wall, and a hidden panel slid open. In, he barked. They tumbled inside, just as a bolt of light scorched the spot where they'd stood. The panel slid shut, plunging them into darkness again. The girl could hear the drones outside, their red lights sweeping the walls, searching. But they moved past. She was shaking. They almost doesn't count, the human said, already moving deeper into the hidden room. This chamber was small, lit only by cracks of glowing stone in the walls. But in the center was something different. A table. On it, a map of the city marked with dozens of small, glowing points. She stepped closer. What is this? Every place they control, the human said. Every place that needs something stronger than fear to survive. She pointed to a cluster of glowing marks near the lower districts. That's where I was. He nodded. One day, there'll be stones there. Homes that can't be taken away. Her eyes widened. You're building? All over the city? Trying to, he said. But every time I get close, the enforcers show up. Before she could reply, the wall behind the map shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. The human's face hardened. They found the back door. What do we do? He reached under the table and pulled out a large stone bigger than the one she carried. Its glow so bright it lit the entire chamber. We don't run, he said. We make them regret finding us. The wall cracked again, this time splitting. Open. A drone forced its way through, followed by a tall figure in black armor. Its helmet had no face, only a burning red visor. The figure stepped inside, its voice cold and metallic. End of the road, human. The human didn't flinch. He set the large heartstone on the floor, pressed a switch on its side, and it began to hum. The armored figure took a step back. What is that? The human's eyes narrowed. Something that will make sure you remember me. Asterisk the heartstones. Hum became a roar. The walls glowed brighter. And then the chamber exploded with blinding light. Asterisk the chase. The light faded. When the girl opened her eyes again, she was on the floor, her ears ringing. The chamber was a wreck stones cracked, dust swirling in the air. The enforcer's red visor was gone. So was half the wall behind it. The human grabbed her arm. Up we move. Now. Her legs felt like jelly, but she stumbled after him as he dashed into a narrow tunnel. Behind them, the faint whir of drones started again. They're still coming. She gasped. They always do, he said, outslowing. The tunnel was steep, the floor slick with water. Every step was a fight not to slip. The girl clutched the heartstone to her chest, like it was the only thing keeping her alive. A sharp zap lit up the tunnel. A bolt of energy struck the wall inches from her head, showering her with sparks. She yelped. They're right behind us. The human glanced back, then swung the metal rod from his back. With a flick of his wrist, the coil. On it sparked to life. Stay low. He ordered. He turned, swung the rod, and a wave of static energy burst through the tunnel. The nearest drone went haywire, spinning out of control before smashing into the wall. But the second one knocked under. The blast and kept coming. Go. He barked. I'll slow it down. She ran. The tunnel curved sharply, and suddenly the floor dropped into a huge underground chamber. The girl skidded to a stop. The space was enormous stone pillars rising from a black underground river below. The only way across was a narrow stone bridge, barely wider than her shoulders. She froze. I can't. Asterisk, you can, the human said, appearing beside her. His voice left no room for doubt. They stepped onto the bridge. The rushing water below was deafening. One wrong step, and they'd be gone. Halfway across, the drone caught up. Its red light swept over them like a hunting beast. The human spun, firing another blast from the rod. The bolt grazed the drone, sending sparks flying, but it kept coming faster now. He growled. "Persistent little machine. Can't we outrun it?" She shouted over the roar of the river. "Not here," he said. His eyes scanned the bridge ahead. "But we can drop it." Asterisk. He pointed to a loose section of stone just beyond the bridges. "Center. When I say jump, you jump to the side and hold on to the edge." She swallowed hard. "What if I miss?" "You won't," he said. "You've got something worth holding on for." The drone's engine whined louder, powering up for a killing shot. "Now!" They leapt. Her fingers dug into the stone edge, her body dangling over the black water. The drone shot past and hit the loose stones. The bridge cracked with a deep rumble. The drone fell with it, smashing into the river below and vanishing in a burst of sparks. The girl pulled herself up, panting. "That was not over," the human cut in, already moving. "They'll send more." They ran again, this time through twisting side tunnels. The sound of more drones echoed faintly, growing louder dot after what felt like forever. They burst into another cavern, this one smaller, lit by faint shafts of daylight. From above dot, the human pointed to a vertical shaft in the wall. "Up there?" "Climb." She stared at the jagged stone. "That's high." Asterisk. "Higher than their reach," he said, boosting her up. "Go. Don't stop." Her fingers scraped raw as she climbed. Her legs burned. Below, she could hear the human's boots hitting the wall as he climbed after her dot, then dash click dash click dash click. Drones entered the cavern. One fired. The bolt scorched the wall inches from her foot. She climbed faster. The human was almost level with her now, his jaw set, his eyes locked on the top dot. The drones closed in. One aimed straight at her back. When the human let go with one hand, yanked a small, glowing stone from his pocket, and hurled it. The stone hit the cavern floor. A burst of blinding light exploded outward, frying the drone's mid-dash air dot. By the time the light faded, they had reached the top. They crawled out into open air, the first fresh breeze she'd felt in days. The city spread out before them, far below. Smoke rose from distant towers. The streets were crawling with more enforcers. "They'll search every block," she said. "They will," he agreed. "Which means we don't go down." She turned to him. "Then where do we go?" The human looked toward the jagged hills beyond the city walls, his eyes narrowing. Someplace higher. Somewhere they won't follow. Asterisk. Far away, on the tallest hill, something massive moved, a shadow, too big to be a building, too slow to be a machine. And it was watching them. Asterisk. The last stone. The wind on the hill was sharp, smelling of dust and something older, like air that hadn't been breathed in years. The girl kept looking at the shadow in the distance. It was still there, still watching. "What is that?" She whispered. The human didn't slow his climb. "If I told you, you'd probably run the other way." She tightened her grip on the heartstone. "I'm already not running. Tell me." He glanced back at her, his expression unreadable. "It's a guardian." What?" "A machine older than the city. Older than the people who built it. They left them here to keep certain things buried." Asterisk. "Buried?" she asked. He nodded. "And we're about to dig one of them up." They crested the hill, and the ground dropped away into a massive crater. At the center stood a structure unlike anything she'd seen, towering black stone walls, carved with strange glowing lines. It pulsed faintly, the same way her heartstone did. "What is this place?" she breathed. "The vault," he said. "And inside, the last heartstone I need." She stared at him. "For the house?" Asterisk. He shook his head. "For the network." "One stone in each hidden base, linked together. If I finish it, anyone in the city could have heat, light, food, without paying a single credit to the council. Her eyes widened. That's why they're after you. That's why they'll kill. For it, he said flatly, asterisk. A low vibration rumbled through the ground. The shadow at the far side of the crater moved standing tall now. The guardian dot, it was massive part machine, part living thing. Its body was shaped like a giant insect, but its armor was black stone, and its eyes glowed with the same deep red as the enforcer visors. The girl stepped back. We can't fight that. We're not going to fight it, the human said, scanning the crater. We're going to get past it. The guardian let out a sound like grinding metal and began to descend toward the vault. They ran down the slope into the crater with steep, loose rock sliding under their boots. Every step sent them closer to the vault and closer to the guardian. The human's eyes never stopped moving. It's slow to turn. Stay low. Keep moving. Don't give it a reason to. A sudden boom shook the ground. The guardian's head snapped toward them. Notice. The human finished grimly. The guardian's legs pounded the ground, each step sending up a cloud of dust. They sprinted for the vault. The black stone door loomed ahead, covered in glowing lines that pulsed faster as they approached. The human slammed his hand onto the door. Hold your stone to the center now. She pressed her glowing heartstone against the pattern. The lines lit up in a bright cascade, and with a deep rumble, the door began to open. The guardian roared, its massive form charging toward them. Inside, the human barked. They slipped through just as the guardian's claws slammed into the ground where they had stood, the impact nearly knocking them off their feet. The door sealed behind them. Silence. Inside, the vault was vast. Rows of heartstones were embedded in the walls, their light bathing the chamber in gold dot, and there, in the center, sat one larger than any she had seen before. Its glow so bright it painted shadows on the far walls. The human stepped toward it like someone approaching. A sleeping beast. His hand hovered over its surface. This is it, he said quietly. The last one. The girl looked around. Why not take them all? He shook his head. Take too much, and the vault shuts down. These stones, they're linked. Remove. Too many, and the whole thing dies. I only take what I need. He lifted the stone. It was heavier than it looked, its light pulsing faster now, like a heartbeat matching his own. But before they could move, a sound echoed through the chamber, a metallic click. Then another. The girl turned. 3 enforcers stood at the far end of the room, weapons drawn. End of the road, one said coldly. The human sighed. They always say that. You'll hand over the stone, the enforcer continued, and the girl. The human smiled faintly. You're going to be disappointed on both counts. Asterisk. The vault's walls began to tremble. Outside, the guardian roared, and then, impossibly, its massive head forced its way through the wall, glowing eyes locked on the human. Asterisk. The stand. The vault shook as the guardian's massive head forced its way through the wall, stone cracking and falling in chunks. Dust filled the air. The golden glow of the heartstones flickered like candlelight in a storm. The enforcers didn't move. They stood their ground, weapons steady. Hand over the stone. The human's voice was calm. No, one enforcer stepped forward. Then you die here. The human smiled faintly. That's the problem with you lot. You always think I'm the one in trouble. He set the giant heartstone on the floor between them and tapped its surface 3 times. The glow shifted brighter, sharper, almost white. The girl stepped back. What are you? Buying time, he said. The guardian roared again, forcing more of its body through the crumbling wall. The sound was deafening, shaking the ground. One enforcer turned his weapon toward it. It's breaking in. The human's eyes narrowed. Not breaking in, responding. The girl blinked. Responding? Asterisk, he pointed at the heartstones in. The walls. They're all connected. The Guardian was built to protect them. If I trigger the vault's defense sequence, the rest of his sentence was lost in a blast of movement. Asterisk, the Guardian tore through the wall, its claws striking the floor with enough force to make the heartstones shiver in their sockets. The enforcers opened fire. Beams of energy lit up the chamber, slamming into the Guardian's armor. The blasts left smoking marks, but the machine beast kept coming. The human moved fast, grabbing the girl's arm and pulling her toward the far wall. Stay close. One enforcer spotted them and fired. The bolt hit the stone beside the human's head, spraying shards across his face. He didn't. Flinch. He reached a section of wall with no carvings, only smooth black stone. Without hesitation, he slammed his palm against it. The surface rippled like water, revealing a hidden console made of the same glowing lines as the heartstones. He punched in a sequence with quick, precise movements. Guardian, he said, his voice low but firm. New directive. Eliminate hostiles. With council insignia. The girl's eyes widened. You can talk to it? He gave a thin smile. Not exactly. But I can change what it listens to. The Guardian froze for a fraction of a second. Then its head swung toward the enforcers. They didn't have time to react before one massive claw swept across the chamber, smashing two of them into the far wall like ragdolls. The last enforcer staggered back, firing wildly. The Guardian's eyes blazed red as it lunged out. The human grabbed the heartstone from the floor and turned to the girl. Time to go. She stared at the chaos. What about, trust me, he said, pulling her toward the opposite exit. We don't want to be here when it finishes. Behind them, the last enforcer screamed as the Guardian's claw came down. The sound cut off sharply. They ran through a narrow passage that curved upward. The walls here were older, the stones rough and uneven. The girl glanced back. It's not following us? Not yet, the human said. It'll finish clearing the vault first. And then? He didn't answer. The tunnel opened into a smaller chamber, this one lined with strange vine-like cables connected to a single, dormant heartstone in the center. The human placed the giant heartstone into a socket at its base. The lines lit up instantly, racing across the floor and walls like rivers of light. A low hum filled the air. What's it doing? She asked. Calling the others, he said. Others? He looked at her. You didn't think I was building. Just your home, did you? This is bigger. These stones are going to wake the whole network. Warmth, light, food free for anyone who can find one of the shelters. Once it starts, they can't shut it down. Before she could reply, the chamber shook violently. The Guardian's roar echoed down the tunnel. It's cunning. She cried. The human took a deep breath. Good. Then we finish this before it gets here. He pressed his hand to the socket again. The light flared, so bright it hurt to look at. Somewhere deep in the earth, she could feel vibrations like dozens of other heartstones answering the call. The Guardian burst into the chamber, claws scraping sparks from the walls. The human didn't move. He stood between it and the heartstone, his voice calm. You've done your job, old one, but your orders have changed. The Guardian froze. Its red eyes flickered, then dimmed to a soft gold. The girl stared. You stopped it. The human exhaled slowly. No, I gave it a new purpose. Asterisk from somewhere far above, sirens wailed. The ground trembled with the march of enforcer troops. The human turned to the girl. Now we see if a home built from stone can stand against an army. Asterisk the home from stone, the sirens grew louder. The girl could hear the clatter of boots on metal walkways above, the low thrum of dropships closing in. The Guardian stood in the center of the chamber now, its gold-lit eyes fixed on the tunnel entrance. Massive claws ready, the human was still at the heartstone socket, his hands pressed to its glowing surface. Light streamed out in every direction, racing through the floor like lightning veins. "It's working," he said. "The network's waking up." The girl could feel it, a strange warmth in her chest, like the stone she carried was answering. Some distant call, then the first explosion hit. Dust rained from the ceiling. The Guardian roared, its voice shaking the walls. "They've breached the outer tunnels." The girl shouted. "I know," the human said. "Hold them off." She blinked. "Hold them off? How?" He tossed her the metal rod with the sparking coil. "You're smaller. You can move faster. And you've seen me use it. Don't think. Just aim." Her hands shook, but she gripped the weapon. For the first time, she realized he wasn't giving her something to borrow. He was giving her something to own. The Guardian moved to block the main tunnel as enforcers poured in. They opened fire, their bolts hammering against its armor. The Guardian struck back, its claws sweeping through them like a storm through tall grass, but more came. Always more. The girl darted between stone pillars, firing the rod at the nearest attackers. One drone dropped from the air, its red lens shattering. Another enforcer staggered back as her blast hit his weapon, sending sparks flying everywhere. The floor trembled with the hum of the network, spreading from deep below. She could hear it. Thump, 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 like the heartbeat of the entire city. She ducked behind a broken pillar, panting. "How much longer?" The human's voice was calm. "Even now. Until every heartstone in the city is alive? 2 minutes." 2 minutes felt like forever. The enforcers pushed forward, some slipping past the Guardian. The girl caught sight of one raising his weapon toward the human's back. "No!" She screamed, leaping from cover. She fired. The coil sparked, the bolt slamming into the enforcer's chest and dropping him instantly. The human didn't even turn. "Good shot, *." The network's glow surged brighter, filling every crack in the walls. Above them, a low hum turned into a deep, rolling vibration. In the distance, faint but growing, came the sound of voices. Shouts, cheers. The girl's eyes widened. "What is that?" The human smiled. "The shelters are waking. People are finding them." Another explosion shook the chamber. This time, part of the ceiling collapsed, revealing the pale daylight above. Enforcer dropships hovered there, lowering more troops into the breach. The Guardian roared and leapt upward, smashing one ship from the air. The girl fired again, driving another enforcer back into the shadows. Her arms ached, but she didn't. Stop. Then, with a sudden, almost blinding flash, the network's light pulsed outward in one great wave. Every heartstone in the walls shone like a small sun. The pulse spread into the tunnels, then into the city above. In the streets, cold homes grew warm. Dark alleys filled with light. The hungry smelled food cooking where there had been nothing. The people of the city stopped, staring at the sudden change. And they knew this wasn't from the council. The human stepped back from the heartstone. "It's done," the girl swallowed. "So, now what?" He looked at her, not like she was the scared child from the shadows, but like someone ready to stand on her own. "Now," he said, "you guard it. This home and all the others, because they'll try to take it back." She nodded. "And you?" He glanced toward the tunnel, where the Guardian still fought. "I've got more building to do." Her voice was small. "Will I see you again?" He smiled faintly. "If I'm doing my job right, you won't need to." The Guardian roared again, and the human vanished into the dust and chaos. The girl stood in the glowing chamber, the warmth of the heartstones, washing over her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't cold. She wasn't hungry, Dot. She was home. Asterisk, in a city of steel and fear, one human left a gift no army could destroy, a home built from stone, and the will to defend it.